Good late Sunday afternoon, everybody. It's Brandon Doherty, Delaware Weather Guy, bringing you your newest feature here, Weather Weeklies with DWG. So every Sunday at about this time, maybe a little bit earlier, and I'll do live ones when we have a big storm coming, if we have a big storm coming, and I'll do some review of what is to come for the week in terms of talking about the winter in general and the setup for the month or the week and how it's looking and different types of things that um, factor into it. So this week we're going to focus in on the El Nino and how it's revving up. There's still a lot of questions, not a lot of answers because it's an ongoing process. So it's not like, it's set with something and you can just make all the conclusions based on the current data. You can't do that. All right, so let's get started. Why don't we? And so pretty much this is what to look forward to in our little discussion here. November is looking pretty dry with some storm minutes at the end of the month. I'll go over that with you. No measurable snow on the horizon. I mean, it's still mid-November, but some areas around the tri-state area could see some white flakes. El Nino is heating up, but what kind and what kind of strength? Those are the questions and many more still yet to be answered. El Nino doesn't mean snow from December to March. Just doesn't mean that. Just like the start of the winter doesn't mean it's going to snow every day. So I want you to pull those expectations or pull those apprehensions back and just go with it. All right. Um, it means higher chances if the timing is right. So we have this active southern stream picks up moisture, and if the streams are right, it could jettison up the east coast. It could phase. It could go out to sea. I mean, there's numerous possibilities, but the fact remains is that it's carrying a lot of moisture. So if it's cold enough, it could deliver a potent punch. December is looking a bit above average with temperature, but it's not a blowtorch. Meaning we could still get snow. It may mean that we don't. I really wouldn't look for snow so much in December as I would look for maybe more of the cold. Okay, so those are the things that I'm kind of hinting at. Now here is our El Nino, and I'm separating this into areas. Okay, so El Nino, it is the warming of the equatorial waters from 180 degrees, the international date line, to the east at 80 degrees west off the coast of South America along the equator. Ecuador specifically is right here. Okay. So what do these little dashes mean? Well, the El Nino is the temperatures they're taken in different parts of the waters. That's one, that's two, that's three, and this is four. Okay, and there's four halves to it. Where we want to see kind of where what we want to kind of see in a typical El Nino is the warming of the waters, but it's where the warming is taking place. Currently, I mean, as of November 1st, so it's pretty current. Most of the warming is taking place out here in the 1 and the 2 areas or the eastern base El Nino. Okay. You can see that with the darker reds, and we're talking this is 2 to 3 standard deviations above the mean, okay, above the norm. So what we would like to see more of is a more even distribution out to these parts of the Pacific. So you want to see an increase in temperature here. You want to see an increase in temperature here as well. So what we're seeing is really high temperatures here and really high here, but these two parts are a little bit, they're a little bit cooler, let's say. What we would like to see is all these up to about the same level, okay? Um, that would mean a more even distribution. That would mean a pumping up of the heights. That would mean a more active southern jet. That would mean more precipitation where there should be more precipitation. There should be more dry spots than there are dry spots. And all those things gel into a typical or a moderate to strong El Nino. Now, would we take a weaker one? Yeah, okay. But if the concentration of the El Nino is out here all winter, not good. Doesn't mean we won't get snow, doesn't mean we won't get cold, doesn't mean this or doesn't mean that. It just means that the southern track would kind of jettison out to sea more, and the precipitation would cut up through the Appalachians, or more New York State and New England and parts and all Maine. So that is the difference between an eastern-based El Nino as opposed to a more evenly distributed El Nino. Now, if it were to be more evenly distributed, I think it would be a strong El Nino year. Does that connotate lots of snow, lots of storms, lots of cold? No, doesn't. But climatologically, historically, based on past El Nino years, it probably would mean storminess, probably would mean more snow. It probably would mean uh, additional cold. So that's the big difference. That's the big difference here. We're talking, some as opposed to a lot. Great. And I'm going to clear my screen. Okay, so in a typical El Nino year, this is how the southern jet is. Areas from, I would say, Northern California through Texas, through the Gulf states, and up through parts of the northeast. We see a considerable increase in precipitation. Okay. It's drier here in parts of Canada, Pacific North Canada, and the plains, and it's just drier here in the Midwest. Now, again, this does not all connotate no snow from lots of snow to minimal snow. Just means that the climate is more conducive to that type of particular weather. So what in a scenario like I just said, where the waters off of South America are more evenly distributed, it's going to pump up heights here in the Gulf of Alaska. What that would do is pump up the ridges, and it would allow storms to go down the base and pick up moisture and then carry that up to the northern parts of the country. That's really the telltale signal of a active, strong El Nino. Now, you've got to have 100 other things go right. You've got to have blocking up here in Greenland. You've got to have the polar vortex to drop a ton of cold into um, the center of the country. You need you need a whole bunch of circumstances to go correctly. You need the right path. If you don't have the right path, you have nothing. I mean, we're more used to seeing storms go, they come up and they go west of the Appalachians. Well, with a active ridge here, storms come down into the center of the country. They pick up moisture and they carry right up the coast. And this is your classic nor'easter. Okay, so that's the difference, between strong El Nino, moderate El Nino, weak El Nino, and no El Nino. Meaning we're we're in an El Nino, but the impacts are significantly less. The weather impacts are significantly less and less due to the El Nino pattern. That's really all that means. But that's I'm giving you a little hint as to what my expectations are. Okay. So what has happened so far? We have to have some kind of record here. So this is precipitation for October. You can see that the middle part of the country and parts of the east were, there was a lot of precipitation. And this would be more of an example of this, but it tells me that the jet was more centered, it was getting more of a lift further north than staying south. So it was picking up moisture, but it wasn't picking up a ton of moisture. It wasn't delivering a lot of rain. Now, if you remember October, we had a fair amount of rain on weekends, and it delivered it. This is above the mean. Okay, so we had a decent October in that regard. But look at September. We had one area that was really dry, American Southwest. And if you look here, the American Southwest should have had a little bit of a wetter look to it. And if you look that parts of Northern California should have had a wetter look, they didn't. The parts of the country that were dry, that should be dry, or were evenly spared the precipitation, was this portion of the country. But this also tells me they got about average. Okay. And where it should be wet, the East Coast down to Florida, and from this line on south, it should be wetter looking. It wasn't. September was bone dry in most of the country. So what does this tell me? It tells me that we had a better, if you're looking for signs that El Nino is improving, okay, stick with the October look. Okay, so if you're looking at the two, this is September, this is October, there's a little bit of a difference, right? Not a major difference, not like a telltale sign that El Nino is here to stay, but it's like, okay, well, maybe it's starting to juice up. So if we're going on that premise, so far in November, where's the rain been? we might have a chance on Turkey Day to um, go against the grain for that. Let's go to tropical tidbits here. Why does technology not work when you, it works every other time except when you need it? All right. And it's loading and it's figuring out what it wants to do and it brings it up. There you go. Okay. All right. So if if we're looking at potential precipitation and if we're looking for a more El Nino pattern, this is this week. It's really not. It's just going to be a little bit below average with temperature and coolness. Okay. Um, but here's where we start to see some signs that, hey, maybe it's starting to change a little. Maybe that jet is really starting to rev up. But this is a northern stream storm. You can tell this storm up here in the north is delivering a pack of a punch, a heck of a punch with moisture. And this is the 17th. This is later this week, and it delivers a decent amount of rain. And then you can also see the southern areas. There's a southern moisture coming from the Atlantic, which again enhances this storm, but when it's well past our area. And you can also see that heights are dropping, heights are getting, places are getting cooler and colder, but not cold enough yet for a significant snow. Right. All right. We go through that, and you can see that kind of started a little bit of an active stream here. But we still don't see the southern jet revving up. We see the northern jet revving up, but we don't see the southern jet. That changes right here. Now this is this is just after Thanksgiving. And we have a northern and southern system, and the southern system joins late, and we get more rain. Okay. So if we're looking for signs, and let me bring up the accumulated precip. This is a little bit more than what you want to see, but this is much better. This is much better if you're looking for signs of whether El Nino is really revving up. Because now we have the moisture. California is starting to get in on some action. That's good. It's a good sign. The southern part from this line, if you can see it, this line on east is starting to rev up. And then the northeast is really starting to rev up with precipitation. So I'm only going to say that if you're looking for signs that El Nino it might be going in the right direction, if you're a winter snow lover, this is kind of what you want to see. You would actually, if this were ideal, you would want to see almost no precipitation out here and a little drier in this area in the Midwest. If we start to see those signals and this signal where future projections look like it's more juicy in terms of precip, we might start to get excited because that's what we should start to see, or what we should see during an El Nino pattern to pick up. Okay. Oh. Okay. All right. So, that's in general what we're looking at. And those are the signs that are being picked up that there may be some increase in the storminess area. Now, you'd also want to see more pockets of cold weather in the east. Okay. Which I have to say, today's been fairly cool out. This week's going to be cooler, a little bit below normal, but you know the nights will be very cold. They'll be very cold. Okay, so if we start to look out, and I'm not a fan of that, but these are the 500 millibar heights and the climatology and the outlook for this is valid for December 2023. Okay, this is not a wintry look. You've got heights that are, they're building, but yet the trough is too steep, and it doesn't give storms enough of a chance. Now, could we see a stray like Miller B type storm where it comes an Alberta Clipper where it comes down and then reforms off the coast? Absolutely, absolutely. But this isn't, and then because we're about 6 decameters above climatology, which is not favorable for big storms and snow. Let's see. Oh, I always do this. Okay. Okay, this is March. So this is the March outlook. Again, not exactly, the best, but a little bit more ridgy looking. Now, this could be at the tail end of the El Nino. So that could tell us that El Nino is waning at that point. The in between months I haven't shown you because I just don't want to go through each of the months. It takes too long. So, you know, so if we're looking futuristically, those looks aren't very wintry looking. And it would tell me that maybe El Nino isn't going to be as strong. But you can't say definitively that is going to be the case. Now, if it's happening, if the trend is looking like that, then you can start to make some basis for conclusions. But not yet. So that pretty much sums everything up. So November looking pretty dry with some storminess at the end of this month, which I just showed you. No measurable snows on the horizon, but some areas around the tri-state area could see some white flakes. El Nino is heating up. Of what kind and what strength? El Nino doesn't mean snow from December to March. It means higher chances if the timing is right. And December is looking a bit above average with temperatures, but not a blowtorch. So it doesn't mean that we're not going to get any precipitation or any frozen precipitation. It just means that if that is the pattern where the heights are a little not bumped up enough, if we don't have enough ridges for storms to come down in the middle of the country and pick up speed, we really don't have much. So we'll just have to wait, and I'll be back next week with more. This is Brandon Dockney, Delaware Weather Guy, saying adios.